Success in football depends upon a number of factors. Working together as a cohesive unit, good goalkeeping and defensive work, and the ability to win midfield battles. These are all essential ingredients in the recipe for success. But if a team is to truly achieve greatness, they must have at least one special player who has a knack for finding the back of the net. One player who can be counted on to provide the offensive spark. One player who can finish what his teammates start. Real Madrid, one of the most celebrated football clubs in the world, is fortunate to have found such a player. His name is Raul Gonzalez Blanco. Raul was born in Madrid on June 27, 1977, to Marisa Blanco and Pedro Gonzalez as the middle of three children. Even as a youngster, Raul shined on the football pitch. He first played for a nursery team in San Cristobal. It was here that his talent was first recognized. Interestingly, Raul should not have been playing organized football at the time because he was not yet old enough. But he wanted to play so badly that he found a way around the rules. He was here for 2 years, almost 3. He played here the first year without an official card. His first card was a fake one because he wasn't old enough to play. The following year he had an official one. From here, he left for Atletico de Madrid. It was his first coach, Francisco, who discovered Raul and brought him to Atletico. He had been commissioned by the directors of Atletico Madrid to establish a junior squad, and Raul would become one of his greatest finds. We had to put together a team for Atletico de Madrid because they didn't have kids, and they asked me to put it together. And I spent 6 or 7 months checking on kids throughout Madrid. Well, I saw a couple of kids from San Cristobal. At the time, Raul played for San Cristobal in the nursery team. I saw that he was a very good player. At the time, all the kids knew about me and followed me, so I had to go incognito. I used to go to the field and hide in a corner so no one could see me. I wore sunglasses. I followed the kid, match after match, to see how he was doing. He was really a great football player. Well, I spoke to his father and he agreed on signing him with Atletico de Madrid. At the moment, I had to try hard because Real Madrid also wanted to sign him. I kind of used some tricks because I promised him that he was going to be captain of the team. By the age of 13, Raul had become so successful that he began to surpass his contemporaries. For his nursery team, he scored 65 out of the team's unheard-of total of 308 goals. Even though Raul was still underdeveloped physically, Francisco knew he was ready to move on to the next level of football.
Y empecé a trabajar también con ese equipo y dije, mira, yo quiero a Raúl.
Ruben Cano had asked me to organize a champion team, and I started working with that team. And I told him that I wanted Raul. But he said that he was very thin and that these 15-year-old kids were going to kill him. I told him that I wanted to work with him, and that he was going to become a good football player. He told me that I had to realize that he was still a boy and that with 2 kicks they were going to kill him. Finally, I convinced him, and after the first game, I ascended him to the first team of Cadete A. He was 13 years old, and he was the best. I had a great team, a Spanish champion team. After 2 seasons with Atletico, the junior rank was disbanded by team president Jesus Gil, and Raul was forced to sign with Real Madrid, Atletico's natural enemy. He took advantage of Gil's decision to disband the team. Besides, Madrid already knew about it. Vicente del Bosque sent someone to sign him and take him to Ciudad Deportiva. After a while, Atletico wanted him to go back. He said that he was already signed with Madrid and that he was already a Madridian. Raul spent only 2 seasons in the lower categories, but he made the most of his short stay, scoring an astonishing 115 goals in only 2 seasons. His knack for scoring caught the eye of Real Madrid's first division coach at the time, Jorge Valdano, and it was not long before he was promoted to Real Madrid's first division team. Raul exceeded in those categories in Real Madrid. He was already known by everyone in Real Madrid until he caught the eye of Valdano, and he gave him the opportunity to play in the first team. Just by seeing him, you could tell that he was different. He had abilities. He could run very well. He was eager. If I had to choose a word to describe him at the moment, I would say that he was eager. He followed the football as if he were doing it for the last time, and he ran after his opponents as though he were fighting for his life. He caught my attention, and then I started working with him, and I saw a more than human mental ability. He is a young kid with a strange maturity, very bright and with a gift to learn very quickly, and this made him grow as a football player very quickly.
Para aprender las cosas a una velocidad inusual, y todo eso permitió un progreso muy rápido.
It was under the tutelage of Valdano that Raul became a more complete player, and it was Valdano who gave him his debut in La Liga. At first, Valdano was worried about how such a young player would react to such a high-pressure situation, but Raul took to his debut in La Liga as if it were just another day at the office. I used to tell who was starting the day before the match. Since he was going to be the unexpected one, I told him before in order to avoid his surprise in front of his teammates. But he took it very easily. Raul played his first game for the First Division Real Madrid side in a friendly match against Oviedo. He had made it to the First Division. The scrawny youngster from one of the poorest sections of Madrid had reached the pinnacle of success for a Spanish footballer. He was very humble. He loved football. His mother would send him to run errands, and he would always go with the football. I met him there at the football field. There, playing. Raul's humble upbringing only served as more motivation to become the best footballer he could be. Granted, he had an abundance of talent, but he also worked harder than many other children his own age, and this proved pivotal in his development. I didn't think there could be a relationship between coming from a poor neighborhood and being a great football player. But what usually happens is that people who come from poor neighborhoods try harder. There are people who say no, but I believe it's true. The kids that have fought more and have gone through difficult stages have more possibilities to overcome the competition. I'm convinced that there is a direct relationship between a difficult childhood and a good football player. By the time Raul reached high school age, he had already captured the attention of most of the football hierarchy in Madrid. And with Atletico's problems, Raul decided it was time to move on. His signing with arch-rival Real Madrid would be the turning point of his life. Now, more than ever, football was number one for Raul, and he decided that in order to become the best that he could be, something would have to give. And, as often happens, it was his studies that suffered. Although he continued with school for a time, it became more and more difficult as his schedule became tighter and tighter. He had to switch to night school because he did not have the time to come before, because of his football. He had just been hired, so he had to perform well. So he had to do it. I know that he finishes his courses outside the institute, in another academy. Real Madrid coach Jorge Valdano inserted Raul into the starting lineup for the first time in league competition on October 29, 1994. Raul was only 17 years old. He did not play particularly well that game, missing on several opportunities. But Valdano saw something in him. He decided to stick with Raul because he knew he had a fledgling genius on his hands.
Hay que tener en cuenta que él aparece en
We need to
primera
take
división
into
en un
consideration
partido
that he
difícil,
debuted in the
contra la
first
Liga
division
líder,
in a tough match when
y él
Madrid was the leader.
los
3 minutes
3
into the
minutos
match, he
del
got the
partido,
ball.
recibe un
He
balón
dribbled it,
delante del
and he
portero,
hits it
lo
out,
regatea
and
y
then
tira el balón
he misses
afuera.
in 3
Y
other
luego
easy
falla 3
opportunities.
ocasiones
He was unlucky
facilísimas.
because he got the ball every
Siempre
time
la
with
mala
his
suerte
right
de que le
foot,
caía el balón
which
a
is
la
his
pierna
bad
derecha,
foot.
a su pierna
But
mala.
as he was
Pero
an
como un
unknown
desconocido,
player,
nadie sabía
they didn't
que
know
esa
which
era
was
su
his
pierna
bad
mala.
foot.
Entonces todo el mundo
Everybody
entendía
thought the coach
que
was
el entrenador se
crazy
había
because
vuelto
he had
loco
given the
dándole una
opportunity to
oportunidad
that kid.
a ese chico.
We lost the match.
Perdimos el partido.
We went to Zaragoza
fuimos a
as
Zaragoza
leaders and we came
como
back in
primeros
third place.
clasificados
We
y
had a lot of
volvimos
pressure from the
clasificados
press
en
during
tercer
the whole
lugar.
week.
Hubo
The
mucha
following
presión
Sunday, we played against
periodística
Atletico de
durante toda la
Madrid.
semana. Al domingo
Raul started
siguiente
again,
jugábamos frente al Atlético
and I
de
think he
Madrid.
was the best
Raúl
player of the match.
repitió titularidad y fue posiblemente el mejor jugador del partido.
It wasn't until his second game against Atletico that Raul broke through and planted the ball into the back of the net. It had special meaning for him because of his former ties to Atletico and marked the beginning of what would become a remarkable career. We were roommates when he made his debut against Atletico de Madrid, and he already knew that he was going to play. As usual, you talk about the match, and I said that he was going to play and that he was going to score for sure. Then he said, "If I score, I will offer the goal to you." Fortunately for me and for him, he scored his first goal in the first division, and I am grateful to him for offering it to me. Valdano's decision to insert Raul into the starting lineup was not a popular one with many of the Real Madrid faithful. Raul took the place of 2 of the better players in the club's history, as well as 2 of the most beloved, Emilio Butragueño and Alfonso.
Bueno, fue una decisión difícil porque Raúl
No, it was a difficult decision because Raul didn't play in the second team but in the third one, and he was playing instead of Butragueño and great players like Alfonso. But when you believe in a player, you need courage. And finally, that's why coaches get paid, in order to make decisions. And sometimes these decisions are risky.
Los entrenadores nos pagan para tomar decisiones y a veces esas decisiones son arriesgadas.
Coincidió ese año, ¿no? Que había estado.
It was at the same time that I was injured. Valdano trusted him, and that same year I left. And now we can see what Raul is.
Y bueno, pues luego ya él salió y demostró lo que es hoy en día, Raúl.
When Butragueño found himself on the bench while the new kid in town was roaming the territory he had once called his own, it marked a changing of the guard in Madrid football.
Yo viví su...
I lived his success as a spectator. What happened is that I had already gone through the same process and I understood what he was going through. My duty was to help him, and I understood it perfectly.
Yo lo entendí perfectamente, ¿no?
This was an important but difficult time for Raul, and the fact that Butragueño was willing to hand over the baton peacefully made the transition much smoother. By season's end, Raul had become a daily starter and scored 9 goals en route to helping his team win the Spanish League title.
Él no me llegaba y me preguntaba, pero yo hablaba con él bastante.
He never came and asked me, but I talked to him a lot. He played my position, so I just tried to cheer him up and give him some orientation about movements on the field. The truth is, he was very responsible. That was a big surprise for me. By his second season with the team, Raul was on the brink of superstardom. During that season, the 19-year-old matched his age in goals, despite his mentor, Jorge Valdano's departure at the midpoint of the season. The team did not respond well to the newly appointed manager, Arsenio Iglesias, and finished the year in a disappointing 6th place. Because the team seemed to be in disarray, the director saw the need to once again make a coaching change, and Fabio Capello was brought in to try his hand. The Italian coach made some immediate changes, including moving Raul from the center forward position out to the left wing. From here, Raul was better able to set up his teammates, yet was able to knock down 21 goals and lead the team to another league championship. In Raul's fourth season in the first division, he would play for his fourth coach. Although the regular season was less than spectacular, Raul would lead Real Madrid to victory in the prestigious Champions League. In the final, they defeated a strong Juventus side, bringing victory and dignity back to the people of Spain and to Spanish football. By the 1998-99 season, Raul was already one of the most feared offensive players in Europe. His 25 goals that season earned him top goal-scoring honors and his first Pichichi Award. Goals just seemed to come easily to Raul, and the bigger the match, the better he played. At the end of the 1999-2000 season, Real Madrid found themselves once again vying for the Champions League crown. As he had the whole tournament, Raul scored. In the summer of 1996, Raul suffered a bitter disappointment. He was left off the national first team, coached by Javier Clemente, that participated in the Euro Cup. Clemente thought that Raul had some maturing to do, so he left him off the team. Clemente was concerned that given some recent troubles with the press, Raul might feel too much pressure, so he decided not to include him on the roster. Raul needed 2 or 3 more years to mature. He had grown up very quickly, but it is not the same to see things when you are 21 or 22 years old. When you are already a man and you have already suffered some, than when you are only 17 years old. Maybe you are not prepared to go through a difficult situation when you are 18 years old. These problems with the press were not uncommon for Raul. He had achieved so much at such a young age that people took it for granted that his maturity had kept pace with his talent. Over the course of his young career, his coaches tried to shield him from the press until he was better equipped to handle himself, especially at the beginning. At that time, I taught him how to move in the professional world. I forbade him to give interviews out of Ciudad Deportiva for 6 months. I made him keep studying while he was already a star on the team. I helped him keep his feet on the ground, even when he had already touched the sky as a footballer. I think I helped him stay focused, because that is very important.
A seguir tocando la tierra a pesar de que había llegado al cielo futbolístico, ¿no?
Yo creo que ha sido muy difícil para él. Ha pasado algún tiempo.
I think it has been very difficult for him. It is a normal thing. We cannot forget that he has adopted the idol figure of Butugueño, but he is an idol in a more exposed media world where there are more magazines, more newspapers, more TVs. He's had to deal with having his image everywhere. That is difficult for a kid 17 years old, and for a man who is now 22.
En todos los medios de comunicación como principal protagonista. Eso no es fácil para un niño de 17 años y un hombre ahora de 22.
Soon enough, however, Raul learned to better handle the press. His communication skills improved with age, as did his relationship with the media. He is very mature because he has had bad experiences, and that makes you mature. They think that because he was already 17 years old, and that because he was playing with Madrid, that he would know how to react to 40 microphones in front of him. That is not easy. One has to adapt. Now he knows how to deal with this, and he knows how to separate his football career from his private life. By the time the 1998 World Cup came along, Raul was already considered to be one of the best players in the world, and the Spanish held high hopes for their homeland. The tournament opened up disastrously for Spain, and they did not advance to the second round. It is often said that maybe things came too easily for Raul, and that maybe he achieved a bit too much at too early an age. Maybe Valdano was mistaken for inserting such a young, relatively immature player into the starting lineup of one of the best football teams on the planet. Had he waited, maybe things would have gone more smoothly for Raul and his relationship with the press and the Real Madrid faithful. But had he not received that early exposure, maybe he would not be the superstar he is today. No, success never arrives too soon. It is possible that he has done some bad things because of his age. But I think that they take what they want out of a conversation and then they say what they want to say. But talking about football, I think he had to debut before. He has won 2 Euro Cups with his team in 3 years. He is a winner. You could see that since he was a kid. We were lucky to see him play as a junior. He was playing in the first team and in the national team. I think he is still young and that you can get a lot out of him. Sometimes you need to discover other parts of your football player that are not necessarily directly tied to the game. Whenever he can put together his abilities with what he can learn, he will become the best player in the world.
Tienes que descubrir otras facetas tuyas que puede no ser directamente en el juego que se hace en el fútbol, sino saber jugar otra clase de fútbol, que él está aún verde en este aspecto y que cuando lo junte al fútbol que lleva, que es de número 1 del mundo, pues será el mejor futbolista del mundo seguro.
In recent years, Raul has begun to handle his fame much better, no doubt at least in part to his marriage to model Mayman, as well as the birth of their son Jorge on February 25, 2000. These 2 events have been the most important in Raul's life and have helped him to view things differently. At present, Raul has combined his newfound maturity with his enormous talent and is truly one of the most feared and respected players in the world. He has signed a deal that will keep him wearing Real's colors throughout the 2005 campaign, and he has set his sights on helping his team to become a dynasty in Spanish football. Beyond that, he looks ahead to international competition. Historically, Spain has underperformed in the World Cup. Raul's dream is to change that. Raul is the type of player who can heat up the competition and completely dominate a game. And if he is at his best in Japan and Korea, maybe his dream will come true.